Welcome to Daily Plunge. We are in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 1, verses 57 through 66, and we're looking at these passages in light of the advent, the return of Christ. Now, this talks about when John the Baptist was born, and the very fact that Elizabeth, in her old age, is giving birth is very dangerous. A lot of women who were healthy died in childbirth in those days. And so for a woman of her advanced years, this is a big risk. But as it says in the text, the Lord's hand was upon her, and the Lord showed great mercy or compassion to her, first by making her pregnant so that she could have a baby, and secondly, by making sure she safely delivered the baby. And I want to ask, as we await the return of Christ, do we trust God in the risky tasks that he calls us to do, to be witnesses to his gospel? Just as Zechariah and Elizabeth were called by God, right, to take on this messianic mission of giving birth to the messenger of the Messiah, how too are we called to also take on some risks to proclaim Jesus Christ's return? Now, her community comes around her to share her joy. And so too, as a Christian community, how are we coming together to share in the joys and also sometimes the defeats of life, and to encourage and support one another? Now, they come together, as it says in verse 59, for the circumcision. And you need to understand that this circumcision is into the promise, into the covenant of God. And this is where, as the people of God, they're given their identity of who we are and who God is. And so too is we undergo a spiritual circumcision of being baptized. We are brought into the promises of God, not by some decision, but by the work of God. Now, he is given the name John. No one else in that family, Elizabeth's or Zechariah's, have that name. And so the guests dismiss Elizabeth, and that you must be wrong, okay? And so they turn to mute Zechariah to ask him the question. Now, Zechariah honors his wife, and he also shows that they're on the same team together. She's his wife. They are partners, right? And as they are dedicating this baby to the Lord, as they name him John, they are showing their obedience to God. So too, we are called to show obedience to God, to go in God's ways in the small things of life. And it's not about, they're asking, why aren't you naming him after some kinfolk? Because John the Baptist is to be dedicated to the Lord. That was the promise that was given to Elizabeth when she was told she was going to be pregnant. And when Zechariah shows his obedience to God, he opens his mouth and his tongue is set free. And the first thing he does is to praise God. How do we open our mouths and free our tongues to glorify God in this day and age? And as everyone that's there sees their faithfulness, they are filled with awe. Why? Because Zechariah and Elizabeth are faithful vessels to the Lord. And as it says, as the child grew, the Lord's hand was upon him. He was guided by the Lord. And everyone asked, is this child going to be? Well, he's going to be a prophet. And so too, we are called and guided by the Lord. Thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.